One Sabbath day, Jesus and his disciples were walking through grain fields. His disciples were hungry, so they picked some heads of grain to eat. Some religious leaders saw this and accused them of breaking the Sabbath rules. Jesus reminded them of scripture they already knew, showing that even King David once ate special bread when he and his men were starving. He explained that mercy matters more to God than strict rule-keeping, and that he himself had authority over the Sabbath. Jesus went into the synagogue, and there was a man with a damaged hand. The leaders tried to trap Jesus by asking if it was allowed to heal on the Sabbath. Jesus pointed out that if any of them had a sheep fall into a pit on the Sabbath, they would pull it out without hesitation. A person, he said, is worth far more than a sheep. Then he told the man to stretch out his hand, and it was completely restored. Instead of celebrating, the leaders left and began plotting how to destroy him. Knowing this, Jesus moved on, and crowds followed him. He healed all who came to him, but asked them not to spread the news, because his mission was unfolding exactly as the prophets had said. He was the gentle servant God had promised, the one who would bring hope to the nations. Later, a man who was blind and unable to speak because of a demon was brought to Jesus. Jesus healed him, and the man could see and talk again. The crowd was amazed and wondered if Jesus could be the promised son of David. But the Pharisees claimed he was using demonic power to cast out demons. Jesus answered that a kingdom divided against itself can't stand. If Satan were fighting Satan, his kingdom would collapse. Jesus explained that his power came from God, and that meant God's kingdom was breaking into the world right in front of them. He warned them that speaking against the Holy Spirit, rejecting God's work even when it's clear, was a dangerous path. He said that a tree is known by its fruit, and people are known by the words that come from their hearts. Good hearts produce good words, corrupt hearts produce harmful ones. He told them that people will answer for their words, because words reveal the truth about the heart. Some of the leaders demanded a sign from him, but Jesus said the only sign they would receive was the sign of Jonah. Just as Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days, the Son of Man would be in the heart of the earth for 3 days. He said that people from the past, like the people of Nineveh and the queen who traveled far to hear Solomon, would rise up and condemn this generation because they responded to far less evidence than what Jesus was giving them. Jesus described how an evil spirit leaves a person, but returns later with even more spirits if the person's life remains empty and unchanged. He warned that ignoring God's work leads to a worse condition than before. While he was still speaking, someone told him that his mother and brothers were outside wanting to talk to him. Jesus looked at the people around him and said that anyone who does the will of his Father in heaven is his brother, sister, and mother. He wasn't rejecting his family. He was showing that God's family is open to everyone who follows him. That same day, Jesus left the house and sat by the lakeshore. The crowd grew, so large that he got into a boat, sat down, and taught the people who stood along the shore. He began speaking in parables, using stories to explain spiritual truths. He told them about a farmer who went out to plant seeds. As he scattered them, some fell on the path and birds quickly ate them. Some fell on rocky ground where the soil was shallow. They sprouted fast but dried up when the sun came out because they had no roots. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns choked them. But some seeds fell on good soil and grew strong, producing far more than what was planted. Jesus ended the story by saying that anyone willing to listen should pay attention. His disciples later asked why he taught in parables. Jesus explained that some people were open to understanding the mysteries of God's kingdom, while others had closed their hearts. Those who were open would receive even more understanding, but those who refused to listen would lose even what little they had. He said that many people looked and listened but never truly saw or understood, fulfilling what the prophets had said long ago. But his disciples were blessed because their eyes and ears were open to what God was revealing. Jesus then explained the parable of the seeds. The seed on the path represented people who hear the message but don't understand it, and the enemy snatches it away. The seed on rocky ground represented those who receive the message with excitement but fall away when trouble comes because they have no depth. The seed among thorns represented people who hear the message but let worries and the desire for wealth choke it out. The seed on good soil represented those who hear, understand, and live out the message, producing a life full of good fruit. He told them another parable about a field where a man planted good seed. While everyone was sleeping, an enemy came and scattered weeds among the wheat. When the plants grew, the weeds appeared too. The workers asked if they should pull the weeds out, but the owner said no, because they might accidentally pull up the wheat with them. Instead, they were to wait until harvest, when the wheat would be gathered safely and the weeds burned. Jesus continued with another story. He said God's kingdom is like a tiny mustard seed that grows into a large tree where birds can rest. He also said the kingdom is like yeast that a woman mixes into dough until the whole batch rises. Jesus used many parables like these to help people understand, fulfilling the words of the prophets who said he would speak in stories that reveal hidden truths. Later, when Jesus went inside, his disciples asked him to explain the parable of the weeds. He said the field is the world. The good seed represents people who belong to God, and the weeds represent those influenced by the enemy. The enemy is the devil, the harvest is the end of the age, and the harvesters are angels. At the end, the weeds will be removed, and the righteous will shine like the sun in their Father's kingdom. Again, he said that anyone willing to listen should pay attention. Jesus then compared the kingdom of heaven to treasure hidden in a field. When someone finds it, they joyfully give up everything to make it theirs. He said the kingdom is also like a merchant searching for valuable pearls. When he finds one of great worth, he sells everything to buy it. He compared the kingdom to a fishing net that gathers all kinds of fish. When it's full, the good fish are kept and the bad are thrown away. He said this is what the end of the age will be like. He asked his disciples if they understood these things, and when they said yes, he told them that anyone who truly learns about God's kingdom becomes like a homeowner who brings out both new and old treasures. When Jesus finished teaching these parables, he went back to his hometown. He taught in the synagogue, and the people were amazed at his wisdom and miracles. But instead of believing, they questioned him because they knew his family and his background. Their lack of faith kept them from experiencing the fullness of what he could have done among them. At that time, news about Jesus reached Herod the ruler. He became worried and said that Jesus must be John the Baptist come back from the dead, because powerful things were happening through him. Herod remembered how he had arrested John, tied him up, and thrown him into prison because John had spoken out against Herod taking his brother's wife. Herod wanted to kill John, but he was afraid of how the people would react because they believed John was a prophet. On Herod's birthday, the daughter of Herodias danced for him and his guests, and he was so impressed that he promised to give her anything she asked for. Prompted by her mother, she asked for John the Baptist's head on a platter. Herod was upset, but because he had made the promise in front of everyone, he ordered it to be done. John was beheaded in prison, and his head was brought to the girl who gave it to her mother. John's disciples came, took his body, buried it, and then went to tell Jesus what had happened. When Jesus heard the news, he went by boat to a quiet place to be alone. But the crowds found out where he was going and followed him on foot from the towns. When he saw them, he felt deep compassion for them and healed their sick. As evening came, his disciples told him that the place was remote and the people needed to go home to get food. Jesus told them the people didn't need to leave. The disciples should give them something to eat. They said they only had 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Jesus told them to bring the food to him. He had the crowd sit down on the grass. He took the loaves and fish, looked up to heaven, blessed the food, broke it, and gave it to the disciples to hand out. Everyone ate until they were full, and afterward the disciples collected 12 baskets of leftovers. About 5,000 men were fed that day, not counting women and children. Right after this, Jesus told his disciples to get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side of the lake while he dismissed the crowd. After sending everyone away, he went up a mountain by himself to pray. Later that night, the boat was far from land, and the wind and waves were beating against it. Jesus came toward them, walking on the water. When the disciples saw him, they were terrified and thought he was a ghost. Jesus told them not to be afraid, because it was him. Peter called out and said that if it really was Jesus, he should tell him to come out onto the water. Jesus told him to come, and Peter stepped out of the boat and actually walked on the water toward Jesus. But when Peter noticed the strong wind, fear took over and he began to sink. He cried out for Jesus to save him, and Jesus immediately reached out, grabbed him, and asked why he had doubted. When they climbed into the boat, the wind stopped. The disciples worshipped Jesus, saying that he truly was the Son of God. When they reached the other side, people recognized Jesus and spread the word throughout the region. They brought all their sick to him and begged him to let them touch even the edge of his clothing. Everyone who touched him was healed. Thanks for joining me today as we learn from Matthew 12:13 and 14. We saw Jesus teach about having a good heart, tell amazing stories about seeds in God's kingdom, and even do miracles like feeding thousands and walking on water. How incredible is Jesus' love and power! If you enjoyed these stories, make sure to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. See you next time as we keep learning and growing with Jesus.